We're back for another edition of Less Kevin, More Tech from UTECIT.com.
Yep, UTECIT.com.
So we're trying to think of guests,
Yep.
and Christine Lepart schedules our things, and she said Dumb and Dumber. And we said, quit talking about Les and I. And she said, no, I'm thinking of Jeff Daniels. Yeah, she saw the movie, and she says, we need to get a great client of ours in here, and that's a Purple Rose Theater. And so we have Katie and Rob.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Can we just take a second? Who's the dumber and dumb? Which one am I? Or am I too dumb on this one?
If you have to ask, they always said, right?
Right.
You can't find the sucker in the room, you're the sucker, at the poker table, right?
Answer's complete.
The worst part about that film is that I actually had to tell Jeff recently, a couple months back, that I actually have never seen Dumb and Dumber.
Oh,
he just sort of was talking about it as if I have seen it, and I
Yeah.
had to stop him, and I said, I'm so sorry, but I've yet to see this film. I thought I was going to be fired that day.
So we call him Jeff, right? But for those that don't know, Jeff Daniels started
Yes.
Purple Rose Theater back in, if memory serves me right, 91?
1991, yes.
1991. And it's a gem of Washtenaw County. I said to somebody else, but it's really a gem of Michigan. It's a national treasure, right? Yeah. It's a great theater. If you've never been there, it's in the city of Chelsea. And, I'm not much of a thespian,
you're an artsy
but,
guy.
a artsy guy. But
Yeah.
I love going to the Purple Rose Theater. It's an intimate theater, but it seats about 150 people.
168.
168, okay. And you're right on top of these actors, and it's a really cool night. And when you tie it in with one of the great restaurants, my favorite's the Common Grill in Chelsea.
Yeah.
But it's a great date night and just a fun evening out, isn't it?
It is. It's wonderful. So we are in the middle of our 32nd season.
Wow.
At the Purple Rose, which is just incredible. I've been in my current position, managing director, for almost 10 years now. Rob is finishing up his second year being the head of our fundraising department, and it's just an honor. It's an honor to be part of the Purple Rose. We've both been affiliated a lot longer than that. We started as apprentices. We were scrubbing the toilets. We were selling tickets. We were
Helping
doing
people change backstage.
Yes, we were doing everything
Finding props.
that was asked of us.
And more, it sounds like.
So when you say Rob's an artist, you meant shakedown artist,
Yeah.
right? He's like, comes get money out of us.
But we have both, come back to this wonderful organization, and it truly is wonderful to be affiliated with the Purple Rose and to watch it grow. We were closed for almost 2 years when the pandemic hit, and we're just so happy to be open and back and putting on our stories, which is what we do best.
And one of the things, too, that's been really encouraging is while we had a little bit of a slow start coming out of the pandemic, the fall show is Pickleball, which was written by Jeff Daniels. So if it's a show written by Jeff, or if you just have Pickleball in title, it's going to bring people in. But one of the things that's been encouraging is that our winter show was a comedy with no name recognition. It was called Human Error by Eric Pfeiffinger. And we were selling out, and which is not totally common with our winter show, right? But people were ready to come back, and so the performance of that show has really been very encouraging. That people are wanting to get out for a night of theater, and especially if you can sit and listen to a podcast or a radio where people are having conversations in a room. That's a lot of what plays are, right? And so that's what we do. It's a very similar medium of telling stories.
So that's a heck of an impact for the community.
It truly is. It
bring
truly
that
is.
many people in.
We bring in about, again, a full year of theater. We bring in about 30 to 35,000 people into this community. They come and they eat at our restaurants, and they shop in our downtown shops, and it's an incredible impact on this town of Chelsea, and it has been since it started.
Yeah, and it really is a full experience. I mean, people come and they have dinner at one of the restaurants, like you've said, where they stop into the bookstore. And so everyone in town in particular has been really excited to see us reopen and welcoming the buses back and different crowds.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell you over the years how many people, couples we've taken down or friends we've taken down to do something like this, and they're like, we're really not into theater. You know, it's not my thing. And just try it. And you go down there, and they always come out and are like, wow, that was pretty cool. We're going back. And they've gone back. But they never take us back, but they go back without us. But
a lot of people say that.
Common theme there, you know?
They think theater is not for them, and I think that's part of Jeff's philosophy is wanting to create a theater where people thought it could be for them. He often has a joke that he says, you know, art to people in Chelsea means the guy who lives north of town. And so when we do shows, we tend to try to do things that are original works that are reflective of writers in the Great Lakes. And reflective of the people in the seats. And particularly, like, Jeff has a bit of a formula where he will talk about how when economic times are bad, you can roll out the tragedies, like All My Sons by Arthur Miller. Or, like, right now, when we've all kind of could use a bit of escape and a bit of a laugh, we want to roll out a lot of comedies. And so I often tell people when they think theater is not for them that if you can try a new show on Netflix, you can come and experience a new story within our walls.
Mm-hmm.
What a great analogy. Seriously, that's good.
Well, it's we talk about when we talk about creating a customer experience for our customers when we produce, selling a product or a service. I always marvel at how you guys create that customer experience. You know, theater lovers love it. You know, it's like Broadway for them. You know what I mean? But the common folk love it. You know, it's the same way. So it's cool.
You guys ever looked at the folks that attend, like, demographically? Do you do anything like that?
We do. We pull from about a 90-mile radius of Chelsea, which is great. We have folks from the Detroit area that come. Folks come up from the Toledo area, over from Jackson, down from Lansing, Livingston County. It really, truly is a destination for a lot of folks in Michigan.
Yeah, back to the community of Chelsea, to have those folks coming in from all those areas, and also the cultural, diversity that it brings. I'm surprised that it goes out 90 miles.
It does. We also have actors and artists that are coming from all over the United States. We have an actor currently in our current show that's from New York. We have actors that come in from Chicago, LA. We also have a lot of amazing local artists that call the Purple Rose their artistic home. And, you'll see certain actors in multiple shows a year. It's a wonderful artistic community.
Mm-hmm.
That is cool.
I think you hit on a key point, Rob. Some of I can't remember any of them. I'm brain dead, but some of the best plays we went there. I know we've seen The Odd Couple, and everybody knows The Odd Couple, but that was probably not my favorite one. Some of the just local plays that Jeff's written or somebody else there that is pretty neat.
Yeah, David McGregor. Last summer we were running our the third part of our Sherlock trilogy, Sherlock Holmes, and he is a playwright in the Brighton area, and he tends to write a lot of comedies. He's got a show that we've got coming up in the upcoming season. I'll let Katie kind of spoil that for everybody.
I don't know if we can say the upcoming season quite yet, but we may see a new David McGregor play comedy that's
breaking
coming
news.
up.
Give us the music, Johnny.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of the shows people love. They've talked about some of the classics that we might do, but a lot of them are new shows. Diva Royale, written by Jeff Daniels. Human Error, as I just mentioned earlier, was very well received by our audiences. And then we just have had a number of plays over the years that not only do they start here, but then they go on elsewhere. And that's actually the cool thing is that Purple Rose is known nationally because of these plays getting traction elsewhere.
Well, we were coming back over spring break, and we had a conference down in Charleston, and we're driving through. We saw some friends in Inman, South Carolina. We were talking about Katie before we got on here, and so we went to town of Inman for brunch before we sent off with them. And there's a small little old theater there. It was empty. I told my wife, I said, man, they got to get the Purple Rose Theater down here. We got to get Jeff to move to Inman, South Carolina. We could build some restaurants out. We could make this town hop with this thing. But you guys really you've got magic in a bottle over there, because there's a lot of people who have tried to do theaters, and it's just hard to recreate the magic you guys produce over there every day.
Thank you. I mean, again, we love working with living, breathing playwrights. We love creating new shows that will then go on to other theaters across the nation and even across the world. We've had shows go on and go on to other countries. it's incredible to see that impact on not only the American stage, but the world stage as well.
How do you go about that? You know, like, because I hear you saying there's another show coming up, Can't Divulge right now. We don't want to get killed for knowing anything secret, but
It's not as strict as Marvel movies.
Right.
Well, okay,
No, it's not.
All right. But, I mean, you're obviously not, you made the decision to do that a while back.
We do. We typically have, we are constantly reading new plays.
Yeah.
We are constantly hearing new plays read. We have an incredible series through the Chelsea District Library. 8 times a year, we'll read a new play over Zoom. Oh, it turned into Zoom during the pandemic. It was typically in person before that. But we will find new plays that we're interested in doing. We'll get the playwright involved and say, hey, we want to hear your show. And we we'll get an audience of typically about 100 to 200 people will tune in and hear that play and give us their feedback. Do you want to see this at the Purple Rose? What kind of questions did you have about the script? How can we make it better? We love creating new work, and that's all part of our process.
So there's potential for, like, The Odd Couple does podcasting, that we're writing right now. You could...
Yeah, there is potential.
There's no potential. I just want you to know. No matter what we came up, there'd be no potential. But that's
Couple of
great.
copier jockeys
Yeah,
with a microphone
Right.
and doing podcasts, right? Yeah, it'd be high interest.
So,
There are
yeah,
stories.
anything-
There are stories everywhere.
Anything
so-
is possible,
Yeah.
yes.
But what a grassroots approach to that. Do you have, like, a committee that determines, or...
It's mostly our artistic team, Jeff himself, our artistic associates, Rhiannon Reglan and Lucas Daniels. I'm also a part of that. We, again, read a lot of plays and have to narrow it down to what we think will work well in our season. And, yes, it again, probably a couple years out, we're looking at, we're already accepting and looking at submissions for 2026.
Really?
Again, we're trying to stay ahead of the game there.
And you also, I heard, this Great Lakes focus.
Yes,
That, I think,
Midwestern Voices.
That's so unique.
Because you want the people in the seats to hear stories about themselves. That's part of the experience. It's it's part of the comedy behind it too. Is, oh my gosh, that's me up there,
So when you do that, and there's references like euchre, right? That's a common Midwestern kind of a. What happens when that play goes out to?
It's
New
amazing.
York, or-
Jeff had a play that premiered, I want to say 94, 95, Escanaba in the Moonlight, which has been a movie. And that play has been done in Seattle, Washington, and, down in Florida, and places where they might not get all of those Midwestern Youper
Right,
references,
exactly.
but it plays to whatever audience they can find. Honestly, it's almost like a timeless piece these days.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It is.
Now, so Rob, we brought you out today because obviously the Purple Rose is successful. It's a great theater, but you make it successful. What do you do?
I often say what I do is I try to find the resources that give audiences to connect with one another. My job title is Director of Donor Engagement, and my tasks are to raise $850,000 a year to support our general
That's all.
operations.
Just small little
Yeah,
task,
just small
right?
change. If you got it in the couch, send it my way.
So that's Katie's salary. Is that right?
No.
My goodness, I wish.
Yeah, so we're a nonprofit organization. About 60% of our revenue comes from ticket sales, or what I refer to as earned income. About 40% comes from donations, or what I refer to as unearned income.
Okay.
And so a lot of those sources come from either grants from private foundations, sometimes government support, but then corporations like UTEC actually has served as a production sponsor for Sherlock Holmes and the Adventure of the Ghost Machine. And we're very thankful for that. And then also we have, just last year I had about 2,200 individual donors that contributed above and beyond their ticket.
Wow.
So we have a great deal of support from the community. And so as a nonprofit, that is my role, is to try to find the resources so that we can give the attention to detail. Because we could honestly tell a story just with people on a black wall and some chairs, and they could tell the story because our actors are that good. But it's nice when we can add in the elements of costumes and
make
hair and makeup and sets and props and all of those things that bring that world to life. So.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to lead to, because it was important what you do, because we can't do what we do at the Purple Rose Theater, right, without the help of generosity of people supporting us. And
Kindness of strangers, as Blanche Dubois said.
Well, it's important because of the economic impact it does have to Chelsea, and it draws people here and all that. So any corporations out there listening, they need to call you, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We and of course we're always happy to do a partnership too to connect their brand with our audiences. And so whether it's a production sponsorship or if it's a season underwriting, we welcome all the support, and we find that people really do like working and connecting to our audience.
So,
well, hold on. Christine just passed a note here. It said her board member, Dave Legatti, would like to double down on his donations. So,
Thank you, Dave.
So you've got that today. It's almost like a telethon thing here.
I will hit him up after we get back to the office.
Just invoice him.
Okay.
He'll pay it.
So,
what's big on the horizon from the fundraising?
So right now, what we have coming up in just a month from tomorrow, May 13th, 2023, Saturday, May 13th, is the Starlight Ball. And this is a kind of it's a fundraising event that's going to be take place at Weber's, and it is sort of a themed party, kind of like a 1960s Mad Men cocktail party. Oh. We have done annual fundraising events in the past, and they are a great way for people who love the theater to invite others to come along and welcome them into the fold and kind of experience what we do. And generally, those events have been in the summer, and so I wanted to kind of move something into the start of the late spring, early summer, so that people can come and enjoy themselves. We're going to have a great band, a 10-piece band performing called out of Detroit called the Blue Water Kings. So while you're eating dinner, there's going to be like a 3-piece cocktail trio playing all the hits. And like I said, the theme is kind of like Mad Men theme. So we've got a lot of like the decor and the costumes and things are all 1960s. And then our resident artist, I have been, you talked about being a shakedown artist. I have been calling all of our resident artists to be like, hey, do you want to play Zsa Zsa Gabor? How about Dean Martin or Lucille Ball or Marilyn Monroe or JFK?
The whole Rat Pack kind of
Cassius
thing,
Clay,
right?
Ella Fitzgerald. So we have a bunch of people who are going to be kind of acting as icons of the era. And the evening's going to be a fun evening. It all goes to support the Purple Rose. And we are looking at having a great dinner with Weber's. And again, part of the reason why we're leaning into this theme, the inspiration kind of comes from two things. One is the venue, right? Like Weber's is kind of that traditional venue, and it gives people an opportunity to dress up and come together. But it's also sort of inspired by our upcoming summer show called A Jukebox for the Algonquin, which is kind of a baby boomer-centric comedy. Takes place at a senior living facility, kind of like the Village. I say senior living facility, and I want to be clear, it's kind of more like the Villages in Florida or like Silver Maples out in Chelsea. And
active adult community.
Yes, active adult community. That's a great way to phrase it. Yeah. And so we wanted to kind of lean into that kind of nostalgia. And again, as with the pandemic and everyone kind of coming out of things, it's just a great way to get dressed back up again and just have some cocktails, dance.
Well, you're going to disappoint me because I've been to a couple of the barn parties, and the last one was in Dexter that I went to, and that was such a cool piece of property and a neat setup. It was warm. It was muggy.
It was warm and a 90-day in July.
Yes. But I remember we had this, it was, I think just dress casual, but, everybody was in blazers and stuff like that, sport coats. And so you're all sitting out there on this picnic table and this neat bar and all this stuff, and look over behind us, and who's eating right behind us? And overalls and flannel was Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
I mean, if you come to these parties, there's a chance encounter, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I will be dressed up. Jeff may be not so much. Who knows?
Are you divulging the costume? More breaking news?
I'm not sure he'll be in a specific character except himself.
Yeah,
Okay.
He tends to go more on the casual side.
Yeah, and but people can honestly. This is one of those parties where you can come as you are. If you like, one guest said that she wanted to, it gives her a reason to break out her Audrey Hepburn dress.
Oh, yeah.
But then, if you want to come, in a polo and what have you, and still just enjoy the music and the great food and the camaraderie. We also have a live auction. And this year, what we're trying to do is, rather than have like 50 or 60 different like silent auction items, I wanted to focus on experiences. And so the experiences are unique to our theater, and they include things such as Jeff Daniels will be willing to play a home concert. And so you can have him come to your house and have a great house party with Jeff Daniels. He's,
Wow.
you know, we know him as an actor, but we know him. He's also a great songwriter, and he's hosted.
Well, doesn't his son have a band too? That's
Yes.
the Ben Daniels Band.
Yes.
Ben Daniels Band.
Yep. And they've, I actually saw them. I used to live out in Boston, and I saw them perform out at the Cabot Theater in Beverly, Massachusetts, and
Wow.
the whole family. It was kind of a great thing. It was kind of pulled on my heart a little bit, made me miss Chelsea.
Right.
Partly why I moved back. But yeah, so Jeff will do a home concert. Our playwright David McGregor that I mentioned earlier will be doing playwriting consulting. So if you want to buy that for yourself or as a gift for someone you know that is an
There you
aspiring
go.
writer. So
Podcasters.
you could have your Dumb and Dumber podcast play.
I'm going with Odd Couple.
And then, of course, we have a VIP experience with the Detroit Lions. So you can have tickets for that and be on the field before the show, or before the game, excuse me.
This is a super cool theme because, you know, a lot of trends that I read about are people are, you know, trying to get more experiences in life. You know, they're understanding the short time we're here and trying to, that's clever.
Well, and you know, I don't know about you, but like these last 3 years, like I think I've done all the decluttering in my house that I could possibly do. So, you know, I'm itching to get out and do things. And so this is a way to do that. And a lot of these experiences will let you invite your friends to be a part of this. One of the other ones we have is a wine tasting with Spencer, which is a great restaurant in downtown Ann Arbor. And they are a James Beard finalist for their wine program, so they are one of the top 5 wine programs. They'll announce who wins that in June, so hopefully Spencer will get that local shine. But they're going to have a wine tasting for 6, and it could be at your home or at the wine shop or at the restaurant. And you can kind of pick your theme if you want to explore, you know, wines of France or wines of Italy or sparkling wines, or if you're someone who wants an introduction to wine, he will curate a program for you with that.
Well, we bought a wine experience at one of the events we went to, and just like the theater, it was first class because Purple Rose arranged it, you know, so it was first class all the way. It was really fun, and again, just a name drop. I mean, who shows up at this but Craig Common's wife? You know, we had Kathleen Daniels come,
Jeff's wife.
yes, with her sister, and you know, it's just a great time. And here you are running around with these people for this wine thing, and it was so these experiences you guys put on and raffle off and are pretty first class, pretty neat.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
And then on all of it, you know, whether it's the auction or just buying a ticket for the Starlight Ball. All of it goes towards supporting our general operations, which allows us to hire great artists, as Katie had talked about, to continue producing new works. You know, because look, we could run Escanaba in the Moonlight for 2 years if we wanted to, probably, but we don't. We want to showcase other voices, and we want to develop new plays. And so all of that money that comes in for our general operations really goes to supporting the building and the staff and the artist and the programming that we do, whether it's, again, an actual stage production or, as Katie mentioned, one of our script readings that we do online.
Major event.
Those stage productions are pretty amazing. I mean, again, small stage, is intimate. You know, it's just really neat, but I mean, they're pretty elaborate too, you know?
And that goes into the details. And I think that's what we were talking about earlier, is that, you know, we could have actors.
Who builds
with
all
chairs.
those things?
It's a lot of people. It takes a village.
It truly takes a village. We have incredible designers that are designing every costume piece, set piece, prop. We have a props designer that's been with us literally since day 2 of the theater that does most of the props for our shows, and she's just an incredible asset to what we do. And again, it's all in the details, because when you come to a show at the Purple Rose, that's one thing that you will notice is, you know, we think we've thought about everything,
Right, yeah.
you know, every little detail of the rooms of Sherlock Holmes or a pickleball court. You know, it comes down to the sound and the lighting and the costumes and the set. Everything is thought of in detail.
And part of that is actually just a function of the space. So if you've never been
You're
to
really
the Purple
close.
Rose, if
To
you've
the
never been to
action.
the Purple Rose, you might be thinking, you know, something like the Fisher Theater where, you know, there's the fourth wall and you're sitting, you know, far back. That's not the case with our theater. It's what we call a thrust stage. So part of the stage comes out, and you are there. we have 168 seats, but each seat no seat is more than like 20 feet from the stage. So there's 5 rows and 3 seating sections, and you're kind of sitting somewhat in the round of the theater. So when those details happen, one of the things that, and I may be going on a little bit of a tangent if you don't mind, but like when I was an apprentice many years ago, we did a revival of Escanaba in the Moonlight, and Dana, who is the person that Katie mentioned that did our props for 31 years, in the past we were able to get Leinenkugels to bottle or to can carbonated water, right? It used to be for hurricane relief and those kind of things. The FDA had changed the rules that nothing could be mislabeled, right? So we could no longer get fake beer cans, basically. And the play required about 11 beer cans at a hunting camp. And so
Les is your guy. He'll do it.
yeah. And so Dana and I are up in the attic that is just like chock full of stuff. And we're rummaging through things, and we find a Leinenkugels beer can with the proper font and everything that would be for, say, like 30, 40 years ago. And we ended up like cutting the can open, scanning it, and then we went to Kinko's to make like shiny, glossy stickers that then we wrapped around LaCroix cans.
Okay.
And so we had the carbonated water, but we had this very detailed sticker that kind of covered. And I'm still sitting in the back row of the theater, and I can see that just slight little halo of the LaCroix.
Okay.
Right? It was lemon flavor, so it just had like a little yellow halo about the thing. I could see it, and I'm thinking to myself, like, everyone is going to see this. I still was not happy with it, and yet every talk back that we got, people were like, how much beer are they actually drinking on stage? And it's not. We're not drinking beer at all. It's carbonated water. And so I was like, I thought to myself, holy wow, we did it, you know? So and that's actually one of the great things about working at the theater or just arts education in general. One of the reasons why I'm a big proponent of it for any of the people who are listening that work in technology and things. I was saying this to Katie the other day that, you know, arts education, whenever you practice an art, the great thing about it is it navigates that space between what you can envision and what you can execute, right? Every artist who's on our stage, whether it's a playwright or a director or an actor, they will tell you that, you know, they're like, oh, I like that play, but I wish I could have done this. Or, they would tell you they would do things differently. Right. So I think anytime you have an idea and you're trying to take something from your mind and you're actually trying to physically bring it into the real world, you're forever navigating that space that compromise between the gap, right? Between what you can envision and what you can execute. And so that's why I'm a huge fan of arts education.
That's creativity, and everybody needs creativity. Even the most uncreative people are so creative in telling you how uncreative they are. That but creativity is a skill. I think it is.
It is.
So what, anything else then coming up?
Yes, we are actually in what's called Tech Week for our next production, which is a world premiere called In Common by a playwright named Quinn D. Eli, who is a professor at a university in Philadelphia. And we found this play actually during the pandemic. It was one of our Zoom readings. It was found by one of our past staff members, stage managers, who's actually starring in the play as well. She brought this play to us, and it was loved so much by our audience. Like, this is something we need to see on the Purple Rose stage. And it is a drama. It's a drama about a woman who is struggling with the death of a friend and how to come past, get through that and deal with that grief and guilt that she has surrounding the death of her friend. But it is also a story of love and friendship. Any show we do at the Purple Rose, whether it's a drama, it has lots of comedy sprinkled in. So it's going to be a very entertaining show. The playwright is just a beautiful writer. So we're excited to bring this to the stage. It starts preview performances on April 21st. What a preview is we are still in rehearsals, but we have an audience. So we invite our audience in to see the show. Again, we're still working, but you are seeing the full lights, costumes, everything. And then you have a chance to give your feedback after the show. So we tend to do 6 or 7 preview performances before we open to the press. And again, that gives you a chance to talk to the director and typically the playwright as well, and tell them what you liked, maybe where you dropped out, what you didn't understand. Because again, we are still in rehearsals. We're still working to polish that product and that show. And it's great. We learn a lot from watching the play with our audience and learning from them.
And it's not uncommon that sometimes with previews, particularly if we have a 2-show day, a character may be wearing a dress for the matinee performance, and then the costume designer and the director has decided on a different dress for the evening performance. So the elements are changing, and as Katie referred to, this weekend is Tech Week, and Tech Week is when we add those details in. They've been in a room with chairs, and now is when we really start to refine all the elements, the lighting, the sound, the costumes.
How did it get the name Tech?
Technical elements.
Technical elements.
Technical elements. And actually, one of the great things I should mention is that if you're interested in theater, or if you're curious about what that means, 2 auction items that are going to be as part of the Starlight Ball is to actually participate in a Tech Day experience with us. And so the fall production is Diva Royale by Jeff Daniels, and he will be directing that production. And so you could spend a day watching him direct. And a lot of times, you're probably watching the first scene of a show for maybe an hour or two, because yes, the actors are stopping and starting and restarting, because then they're adding in those sound elements and the light elements, and you're watching the director and the designers who bring those elements to life all working together. And
now, when he's directing those things, is he like a football coach where if you get your lines wrong, he makes you do push-ups or run suicides? Or
Nothing like that.
No, he won't yell at you.
And will be his first time directing in quite a while. I want to say
1998.
1998 was the last show it was one of his shows, Boomtown, that he directed. So he's been out of the directing chair for a little while as far as the Purple Rose goes. So we're so excited to have him back in that role.
Cool.
Well, you just think of passion, because it's great when you see the actors and actresses, the passion they bring to the stage there. But you think about a guy as accomplished as Jeff to still want to come back and contribute as much. I mean, a lot of people can just lend their names to a restaurant or a bar. He's in there and he's working despite all the stuff he's doing. So that's got to be kind of fun for you guys.
And really taking on the role of artistic director, which he did just very recently. Just over a year ago, he's considering this his third act. He's done a lot. He's done a lot of movies and music and television, and started the Purple Rose Theater and has seen us through 31 seasons. And to want to come back and still give and train the next generation is really incredible.
That's cool. So let's do this. Normally we close it out asking people what their favorite bourbon is, right. But I think that Jeff he sent us a text and said, "Hey, ask them what their favorite production of mine was." So we're gonna close with what your favorite movie or series or play or thing that he did. We're gonna put you on the spot.
Well, I was 13 or 14 when Dumb and Dumber came out, so that was huge with me at that time. But I think Godless, if you have not seen Godless on, I think it's Netflix, that series came out 2018, 19, I want to say.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Somewhere around there. That series is amazing.
It's a mini series, so it's a 1-season, one and done series. It's Jeff Daniels and Michelle Dockery from Downton Abbey, and a few other folks.
But it's a Western, and he's the bad guy, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's a great. One of my favorite plays that the Purple Rose has ever done is Diva Royale, which we did in fall of 2018. We're going to bring it back this fall. Jeff wrote it based on the misadventures of his wife, Kathleen, who you mentioned earlier. She bought tickets for what she thought was a Celine Dion concert in New York, brought her friends out there, and only to discover that they ended up seeing a male impersonator of Celine Dion. And so it was one of those funny shows, and I remember taking my mom to see, she would oftentimes attend the shows with me, and she turned to me and she was like, "I think that's my favorite show." And so I treasure that memory, and I treasure the laughs that I got from it, and so I'm excited to see it come back this fall.
It is one that we get at least 1 or 2 phone calls a week from people that say, "When is Diva Royale coming back?" So it's the truth. It's coming back in the fall.
I find it fascinating that somebody can write a story about their spouse's misadventures and not end up in court and actually be lauded.
Well, I don't know if the writing about it is as bad or is like the song that he has called Recreational Vehicle, which if you're on YouTube, go listen to it. But he tells the story of his family going out. He gets this large recreational vehicle, and he tells the story of his family going out to Cooperstown to see the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Right.
And he leaves Kathleen at a rest stop.
Yes.
And the funny thing is during the pandemic, we were doing these virtual concerts, and he would perform this song, and I now have heard this song probably like 10 or 12 times, and I know the punchlines, and I still laugh, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what it is, but yes, I know the punchlines. I know what's going to happen, and I'm still laughing at the story.
If you ever get a chance to come out to Chelsea to see On Stage and Unplugged with Jeff Daniels, do it. Every time, even if you've seen it before, every show is different. He'll tell new stories. He'll sing new songs. It's quite an experience.
Cool, man. Sounds awesome.
Well, Bazooka's holding up a piece of paper. He said his favorite Jeff Daniels was, what was it, 101 Dalmatians?
Oh, with Glenn Close. That's a good one.
This is a good one.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Well, good. This has been fantastic. I appreciate the education and learning all about, behind the curtain, so to speak.
Yeah.
We truly appreciate you having us on today. So thank you.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
I'm just going to give a plug to say thank you for UTEC
Yeah.
because they help us with
Yes.
our operations in terms of phones and networking and computers
Yeah.
and email and even like things like phishing scams to be
Right.
trained and watch out for.
Yes,
So
exactly. And you started just being, just with your generosity for our big events. And then it moved on to copiers and printers and now our full IT support. So we truly thank you for
Well,
your
thank you.
support.
It's a good partnership. That's
Yeah,
what we like,
absolutely.
partnerships.
Right.
So thank you.
Thank you.